Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that money no longer controls your decisions. You don't dread Mondays. You don't fear unexpected bills. You don't feel trapped in a job you hate just to survive. Instead, you feel calm, free, confident that your future is secure. This is the quiet promise at the heart of The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins, a book that doesn't shout, doesn't intimidate, and doesn't try to impress you with complexity. It simply sits you down and says, wealth is not complicated, but it does require clarity, discipline, and patience. J.L. Collins didn't write this book as a flashy manifesto or a Wall Street insider's secret guide. He wrote it as a series of letters to his daughter. That alone changes everything. The tone is caring, protective, and deeply honest. He's not trying to sell you a dream of luxury. He's trying to give you something far more valuable: freedom. Freedom from fear, from debt, from confusion, and from the endless cycle of working just to stay afloat. From the very beginning, Collins challenges the idea that money has to be hard. In fact, he argues that the financial industry often makes it complicated on purpose, because confusion is profitable. At the core of the book is a simple but radical idea: wealth is built not by chasing returns, picking stocks, or timing the market, but by living below your means and investing consistently in low-cost, broad-based index funds. That's it. No secret formulas. No daily trading. No obsession with financial news. Collins insists that the stock market, over long periods of time, has always gone up, not because it's magical, but because it reflects human progress, innovation, productivity, and growth. Betting against that, he argues, is betting against humanity itself. But before investing even enters the picture, Collins talks about something far more important: saving. Saving, in this book, isn't framed as deprivation. It's framed as power. Every dollar you don't spend is a soldier you send out into the world to work for you. Saving increases your options. It buys you time. It gives you leverage. Collins emphasizes that the more you save, the faster you reach what he calls financial independence, the point where your investments can cover your living expenses, freeing you from the need to work for money unless you want to. This is where the concept of "FU money" comes in, not as rebellion, but as dignity. When you have enough savings and investments, you can say no. No to toxic jobs. No to abusive bosses. No to situations that drain your soul. Financial independence isn't about quitting work forever, it's about choosing work on your own terms. And that, Collins argues, is real wealth. Debt, on the other hand, is the villain of this story. Collins is uncompromising when it comes to high-interest debt, especially consumer debt. Credit cards, car loans, lifestyle inflation, these are chains disguised as convenience. He explains how debt steals your future income and hands it to someone else. While some debt, like a modest mortgage, can be strategically acceptable, the overall message is clear: debt limits freedom. The less you owe, the lighter you feel. The lighter you feel, the more control you have over your life. One of the most powerful parts of the book is Collins's demystification of investing. He dismantles the myth that successful investing requires intelligence, luck, or insider knowledge. In fact, he argues the opposite. The more you try to outsmart the market, the more likely you are to fail. Professional fund managers, armed with data, teams, and technology, consistently underperform the market over time. If they can't beat it, why would you try? The smartest move, Collins says, is to accept average and let time do the heavy lifting. This is where index funds come in, particularly total stock market index funds. By investing in one simple fund, you effectively own a small piece of thousands of companies. You're diversified, protected, and aligned with overall economic growth. Costs are low, taxes are minimized, and stress is reduced. Collins repeatedly returns to this idea not because he lacks imagination, but because simplicity works. Complexity, in investing, is often just risk wearing a clever disguise. Of course, the stock market isn't a straight line upward. Collins doesn't sugarcoat volatility. He talks openly about crashes, bear markets, and fear. But instead of framing these as disasters, he reframes them as opportunities. Market drops, he explains, are temporary. Panic is permanent. The real danger isn't losing money during a downturn, it's selling in fear and locking in those losses. The investor who stays the course, who continues investing calmly while others panic, is the one who wins in the long run. This emotional discipline is perhaps the hardest lesson in the book. Humans are wired to react, to flee danger, to follow the crowd. Collins urges readers to recognize this instinct and rise above it. Investing success isn't about brilliance, it's about behavior. Staying invested. Ignoring noise. Trusting the process. Over decades, these small, quiet decisions compound into extraordinary results. Another key theme in The Simple Path to Wealth is the idea that your time is your most precious asset. Money is simply a tool to protect it. When you trade time for money endlessly, without building assets, you're stuck on a treadmill. Investing, on the other hand, allows you to decouple income from time. Your money works while you sleep, while you live, while you age. And eventually, if you're patient, it can support you entirely. Collins also addresses the concept of enough. In a world obsessed with more income, more possessions, more status, this idea feels almost revolutionary. He encourages readers to define what enough looks like for them and stop chasing beyond it. Endless consumption doesn't lead to happiness, it leads to anxiety and dependency. Financial independence isn't about being the richest person in the room. It's about being the most content. As the book progresses, Collins speaks directly to different stages of life. For young people, the message is urgency without panic. Start early. Invest consistently. Let compounding work its quiet magic. For those in midlife, the message is reassurance. It's not too late. Discipline still matters. For retirees or near retirees, the focus shifts to preservation, withdrawal rates, and maintaining peace of mind. Throughout all of it, the tone remains steady, calm, and grounded. Perhaps what makes this book so powerful is what it doesn't do. It doesn't promise overnight success. It doesn't sell luxury lifestyles or passive income fantasies. It doesn't glorify hustle or burnout. Instead, it offers a long, steady road, one paved with patience, humility, and trust in simple principles. In a noisy world, that quiet confidence is refreshing. By the time you reach the end of The Simple Path to Wealth, you realize that the book isn't really about money at all. It's about designing a life where money serves you, not the other way around. It's about reducing fear, increasing choice, and living with intention. It's about understanding that true wealth isn't measured by what you own, but by how free you are. And that's the lasting echo of J.L. Collins's message. You don't need to be extraordinary. You don't need to be lucky. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent, thoughtful, and patient. The path is simple, but it's not always easy. Yet for those willing to walk it, the reward is profound. So as this story closes, imagine yourself years from now, looking back at the moment you decided to take control. The moment you chose simplicity over complexity, freedom over fear, and long-term peace over short-term pleasure. That is the promise of The Simple Path to Wealth. Not riches for show, but a life well lived. And in the quiet stillness of financial independence, you may find something even more valuable than money, you may find yourself.